If you'd like to know how I went from this inspiration picture to this finished outfit, then keep watching because I'll show you exactly how I did it with some pattern hacking. Hello and welcome to my sewing room. Now today we are going to be doing some pattern hacking and we're going to focus on the top today. And I realised I actually have quite a few kind of patterns and like blocks and things that I can make that top very easily with. So the first of which is this dress pattern I bought from Girlier Patterns. It's a fern dress. You can see it's very, very similar to this pattern here, the top part, like the neckline. I also have this dress, which I've done another video on, which is that red and pink kind of little shift dress with the little bow on the back. I also have this sleeve that I made to fit that dress that I've done. So I kind of want the sleeves a little bit longer, so I might use this as a bit of a base, make it a bit longer. So yeah, that's what we've got to work with. And this is why pattern hacking is great, because you can see something and when you start making your own things, you can see that that design is in patterns that you already have. And if you know kind of enough about patterns, you can kind of tweak them a little bit to make it fit. So I'm gonna show you the process and hopefully by the end of today, we might have a top. So the first thing I'm going to do is use this as the base pattern because I think with the dart being in this position, this is the most similar pattern I have. I know I want to adjust the neckline, so we'll sort that out in a little bit. I don't know if you can see it yet. I'm going to adjust the neckline. This is the waistline for the pattern that I made, so I'm going to just do it as a top up to that point because that's the skirt. So I'm going to trace this onto a new piece of paper and we'll go from there. So transferring the dart, I've literally just put a pin in the very corner of the dart, drawn two lines where the dart needs to be brought together, and then I'm going to use just a ruler and just join those up when I take it off. Right, there we go. So this is my new pattern for the top. You can see the dart hopefully is there. Now I want to change the neckline because I don't want it like a t-shirt, I want it a bit more boat necked. I'm gonna actually compare this neckline with the purchased one. Right, so I've just been having a look at this and trying to work it out. I think I'm going to keep the bottom part of this neckline very similar because this actually comes down a little bit deeper. I'm going to keep it more like this, and I've just measured from my shoulder and I want it to be about 2.5 inches from the shoulder. Now, the reason I cut out the neckline is so I can show you what to do if that neckline is different. So you can literally just slap a piece of paper behind, and then what was the difference? We want this to maybe come up, yeah, that's about 1/2 inch or 1.5 centimeters. Done that, we've done a mark where it needs to come up, so that will basically be that line there. Now you can use like a curved ruler, but you can also just freehand it. So from that point that I've just done, I'm going to freehand sort of to that point there, which was 2.5 inches from the corner. So you get something like that. So you can see this was my old one, this is my new line, and I've kind of just drawn a random boat neck. And it doesn't matter if this is perfect because what we are doing here is we're going to make a sample up. So just like before, what I'm going to do is use the back panel for this dress. Okay, so this is the back piece and I've just left the neckline just as the full piece of paper, and then this is obviously our front. So that's 2.5 from the shoulder for the back neckline. Make it level on the shoulders. Then I'm going to measure up 22 from that neckline and there. And I've now got my 2 points. I've got one here and one here, and I'm just going to do the same again and create a curve for the neckline. So if you imagine these are my 2 pieces of fabric on top of one another, you can see the back comes up a little bit higher at the back than it does at the front. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this out. I have some sort of calico material. I'm going to cut these out, sew them together, and just check on the fitting of the bodice before I work on the sleeves. When I make my patterns, I don't actually do a seam allowance on them. I do that at a later date when I'm actually going to cut it out on the fabric. So because this is just a test sample, around the neckline here, I don't need a seam allowance. I'm not going to hem that. I need a seam allowance on the shoulder and down the side. That is literally the only place I need a seam allowance on my sample. Right, we need to put the dart in position, and then I'm just going to put a pin here in there. Don't have to put it all the way through, just in one side. I'm going to take my pins out and then carefully lift that back, and you can see where the pin is coming out of the fabric. Just literally do a little circle on that point there, so that when you take that off, you can see where the tip of the dart is going to be, and then this is obviously how wide my dart actually is. So what we'll do first is we will sew these darts in. I'm not going to show you like specifically, but I'm going to sew the darts in, and then I'm going to sew the sides together and the shoulders together, and then we will try it on and see what it looks like. Right, here's the sample. So there are just a couple of tweaks that I want to make to this, but it won't change the pattern too significantly. So I quite like how the neckline is here, but I might widen it just a tiny bit. Where my bra strap currently is like here, so I kind of feel like I might just do a 1/4 of an inch. I need to just redraw that a little bit so it flows a little bit nicer. Just at the corner, just sort of maybe come like more like that angle. And yeah, I mean, I know the bodice kind of fits because I've just kind of copied it, but the only thing is, so this is kind of where I would wear a skirt. This is like my waist here. And it just feels a bit, I don't do cropped, like cropped. So what I think I might do is just add maybe 2 centimeters, maximum 1 inch to the bottom of that, just to make it a little bit more modest. The sleeves are exactly the same as this armhole, so I know this is going to fit because it's on that other dress that I've made, but I want to just make the sleeves a little bit longer. Yeah, that's about 2 inches from the elbow, so I might do 11. This, the arm sleeve that I've already done is 8.5, so it's only 2.5 inches longer, which will be fine. I'm in 2 minds as to whether to do the button on the back or not. I've made this sample without. I just don't know by the time the sleeves are on there if it's going to be easy enough to get on and off. Right, so the first thing I was talking about was that neckline, and I'll just kind of show you on here. To make sure your neckline's rounded, which is what I forgot last time, is you put both of your shoulder pieces together, and you can see there that that is not the smoothest of curves. So I want to keep this line the same, but we just kind of want to slope it out a little bit more. And then we'll kind of want it to go a little bit straight there. So you can see the line that I've drawn, and that looks definitely better. For this bottom edge, I'm actually just going to write on here about adding the correct seam allowance. So I've had a look and I think 2 centimetres. So plus 2 centimetres and seam allowance. And I'll do the same here. Plus 2 centimetres and seam allowance. So I just know to cut that longer for the seam allowance and longer because I want it a little bit longer. Also, the front I am going to cut on the fold. The back I am going to do it with the button and the loop. So instead of cut on fold, I'm not going to do that. I need 2 of those and 1 of those. So yeah, 8.5 to 11. So I want it down to there. And I'm just going to do 2.5 all the way around here. Down to that point. And then we're just going to draw that shape in. Okay, that kind of thing. So now I need to work out the facing parts. I've got the one I've purchased just for reference, so if I put that here, the facing is identical along here for the piece, but here it dips down just a little bit, and measuring that, it doesn't quite follow the shoulder, it goes down. That's 1/4 inch, or just a few millimeters, like 5 mil. So I'm going to basically duplicate that from the shape of my neckline and everything. Now this is the shoulder piece, like here, that's the shoulder, and we said we wanted it to drop down about half. No, it was 1/4 inch, wasn't it? So I'm just going to do 1/4 inch there, and then line that up to the corner, and I'm going to cut that little bit off. There we go. So there are my 2 facing parts. I also have this piece from the pattern, which is for like the loop. So I'm just going to trace around this so I have my own. So my camera overheated, and hopefully what I was just doing, saying whatever it was, has recorded, but I did end up just carrying on cutting out the rest of the bits that I needed for the pattern and prepping a few bits. So I'm just going to run through what we've actually got at the moment. So we have 2 back pieces, and I have put some fusible interfacing just on the neckline there on both pieces to stop it stretching. We also have the front section, the front panel, which again I've put interfacing. If it wants to focus, I've put a bit of fusible tape along there, again to stop it stretching on the neckline. Then we have the 2 sleeves there. And then we have the facing pieces. So this is the front facing bit here. And then we have the 2 back bits. And I did back these onto a piece of interfacing. So they've got kind of a little bit more structure to them. And we also have the tiny little button loop. So I'm gonna just sew it together and follow the fern dress pattern for how to do like the facing part. I'm not going to show you how to put it all together. You can just watch me sew and then see the end result. I always love how that comes that is so cute. Now I need to stitch the facing down onto the front, so you'll have like a stitch line around here. So this is where we're up to at the moment. So I've sewn the neckline, and that's the front, and then this is the back with the little button. It's come out really cute. And we've got the darts there and there. And what I'm going to do now, I have tried this on just to make sure everything was fitting good, and it was. I tried it on over this t-shirt actually, and there's plenty of kind of like room in there, which is good. I'm going to sew the sleeves now. I'm just going to sew along here and then attach them into the armhole. And we're almost done, and then it'll just be a case of hemming the bottom. I finished it last night. I was working quite late on it. I finished probably about 9 p.m. So yeah, so I didn't really record the actual finishing because it was like really dark in here. And also my camera kept overheating. So I don't even know what I did record, if it has actually saved. So I need to review all of that. So it might have been a bit of a jump cut from something random. But yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out. I'm glad the sleeves aren't too flared, because I was worried that just like extending the sleeve block out, it would just be like really flared. And I just love the length of this. This is like perfect. It's so nice. And yeah, the neckline came out really nice. Shoulders with the facing, it came out good. And then the like back with a little button. I've done like a fabric button on that. So yeah, super cute, super happy. I mean, my midriff is a little bit on show, but we'll go with it. It should be fine, just in a relaxed position. Just don't raise your arms. So today I have bought some elastic because I'm going to make a skirt, and I really wanted an elasticated skirt, but I really like the look of the inspiration pic where it was more fitted. I managed to find a really cool skirt pattern on YouTube. I will link it below because it just looks so easy, and it's really nice because it's got 2 darts at the front and it's fitted at the front with a nice waistband. At the back, it is elasticated. So I'm thinking it will be elasticated at the back, nice and fitted at the front, sort of mid-calf length, and with a nice little slit up the back so I can walk in it. And yeah, we're just gonna get started. And then hopefully by the end of today, I will have like the cutest little gingham 2-piece. Right, I just had the biggest drama. So I realised that when I cut out the pattern pieces for the top, I've cut them at a really awkward angle on the fabric, and my heart dropped because I was like, I don't know if I've got enough for the skirt. So what I've done is I'm gonna line this skirt as well because it's a little bit transparent. I just wanted to line it with a bit of white. So what I did is I went ahead and I kind of made the lining of the skirt, because it's got the 2 darts at the front there. I've done that, and then I was like, I'll come back to this fabric and we'll work out how we're going to cut it. This, I'm actually going to have to do it in like 3 sections. I'm going to have to do the front section and have 2 seams at the side, and then a seam at the back for where the slit is. So that was the first drama. The second drama is that I then cut the front panel a little bit too small. So again, I'm hoping that it won't be visible and noticeable and it will be fine. But because obviously of the seam I did account for the seam allowances at the side, but I did just measure and cut wrong. So the seams may be a little bit more towards the front. That is the 2 darts at the front of the skirt. So I've not been filming kind of as I go, like a step by step, just because the tutorial is available online on YouTube. But also I'm having to put seams in places where they're not supposed to be seams, so I don't want it to just be like super confusing. But here is the skirt so far. So this is the front where my fingers are. That's where there's a seam, and there's not supposed to be a seam, but we've got a seam there. I've got the 2 darts in there, and I've also sewn along the top with a piece of lining. So I've just got some regular white cotton, done some darts as well, and sewn them both together along the top. I'm just about to sew the waistband on. Now, the waistband, again, I didn't have a piece long enough, so I've had to make some side seams, so hopefully they will join. I've tried to measure it so they will join, but you never know. I've put some, I don't know if you can see, some interfacing on there just for a bit of stabilising. So yeah, so this will go like here at the waist, and then the rest round here will have the elastic that will be gathered. Okay, so I'm just on the waistband now. Basically you sew it onto the front and then wrap it over and sew it along there. I haven't serged the edge. What I've done is I've just like double folded it under, so we've got that. And I'm gonna do like stitch in the ditch, but I'm just gonna do it for that first, like that middle section where it fits, like where it's fitted across like this part of the skirt up to where the side seams are, because then I need to attach the elastic here and here, and then it will go around the back. This came out so good. I did have to just take in about 1 centimetre from each side, just because it was actually fitting a little bit loose and it was sort of sitting a bit further down on my hips. But I'm so chuffed with how this has come out. I'm just gonna hem it now and then it's finished. I am so chuffed with this little 2-piece outfit. I took a gamble on the dress and I just went for it straight away. I didn't bother making a sample up just because I thought it's elasticated, it's going to be a little bit forgiving, and it just came out so good. I adore this little set. I'm going to get so much use out of this, and I might even make another set in different fabric. And as you can see, the outfit is very practical. I'm able to have a little wrestle with my dog in it. I hope you learned a few little different tips on how to hack your own patterns and given you a little bit of confidence to kind of have a go and see if you can alter any patterns that you've already got. So if I can do it, trust me, you can as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in another video.